the dragon prophecy, followed discussion after that. But first, let's go over some future episodes real quick. Next Thursday is our introduction of both the resilience pillar and our third podcast show, the resilient path. Ultimately, RAP is building a national team which encompasses education, training, and supporting Americans in emergencies. For example, Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, we shall not rely on FEMA. October 30th, we will be sharing the recent CIA declassified Biden family Ukraine cover-up with Mike McCormick, a White House stenographer with insights to Biden's shady dealings. This will be a must-watch for our patriot audience demanding truth and accountability. Join Pastor's Point this coming Monday. We'll be continuing with chapter 6 of the book of Revelation, which depicts the opening of the first 6 seals of the scroll by the Lamb, Jesus Christ, unleashing the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and other events signaling divine judgment, including conquest, war, famine, death, martyrdom, and cosmic upheaval, setting for the stage for God's wrath in the end times. Pastor's Point's goal is to share the gospel of Jesus and grow in the knowledge of the Word of God and encourage all to adhere to biblical principles.
We need some support from our viewers and those that have the will to help. Our team relies on the support. Please go to givesync.com/redamerica/donate. Those that are watching the live stream, we're looking to grow our live panel so you can engage directly with guest speakers like Dinesh D'Souza and participate in our famous state-to-state intel round. First, let's start with prayer. We're going to call on Dr. Aaron Gray, host of Pastor's Point, to lead us into prayer tonight. So let me find Dr. Gray and let's get him up here. I don't see his video.
It won't let me video. It says the host has stopped it.
Oh gosh, let me fix that, guys. Go ahead and try it now. Sorry about that. Okay, and you're on. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today at Pastor on Town Hall. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all you've given us, Lord Jesus. We thank you for the very fact, Lord, that you willingly left heaven, left the throne to come down to walk on this earth, to put on mortal flesh, to live as us. Also, you could shed your blood, give your body so that we could be redeemed, sanctified, set free from the sin that we have in our lives. So, Lord, we thank you for that. We thank you for sanctifying us, setting us apart, and make us be part of your kingdom, one of your family, Lord. And you adopted us, grafted us in to be one, to be with you. We just thank you for that, Lord. So as we come before you now, we ask you to lead us and guide us, Holy Spirit. Fill us with your presence, saturate us with your power, Lord, that we remember always that what we say, what we do, how we act should always have one intention, that is to drive everyone, to point everyone around us back to you, Lord Jesus Christ. We thank you for this. In the holy and precious name we pray, we all say amen.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Gray. We're going to now do the Pledge of Allegiance. Valerie, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Now, Philip Parrish, the gubernatorial candidate in Minnesota, running for governor there, is going to do the national anthem for us. Thank you in advance, Mr. Parrish. Thank you.
Welcome. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free
amazing job. That is Philip Parrish from the state of Minnesota. He is running for governor there. Thank you for that, Philip. What a great way
to
to
introduce
introduce
Dinesh D'Souza tonight.
Dinesh D'Souza tonight. Thank you so much
tonight, sir.
for coming on tonight, sir.
We've been following a lot of your
We've been following a lot of your movies in the past, like 2,000 Mules,
and
we're just blessed and honored to have you on tonight. So thank you for coming on. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of your hobbies are as we get started in the interview? Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me on, and I'm very excited about this new film. It's it's a departure for me. My other films, in one way or another, are all about the meaning of America. That's their kind of unifying topic, even though they come at it from different angles. This film takes the events that are happening around the world, particularly in the Middle East, and links them to ancient battles in the Bible.
Our internet's
links
terrible.
them to biblical archaeology that goes back 3,000 years or more, and also points forward to biblical prophecy. So it's unusual for me to take on topics that integrate the political and the biblical, and I made a film that I think is simultaneously extremely timely, but it's also timeless. It's timely because it's right in the middle of this debate about Jews and Israel, and are the Jews of today the same as the Jews of the Bible? Does the Bible tell us that the things happening around us are somehow forecast in Scripture, so that we are witnessing not just political events, but biblical events? Can Trump be seen as some kind of a figure who's being used by God in some way? All of these great themes are in this film, and the film is also, it takes you into some dark places. It has very riveting and some say disturbing footage of October 7th. But at the same time, it is an exhilarating film. It leaves you spiritually, I think, very uplifted, very edified. It very much fits in the mood of Charlie Kirk's funeral, even the mood in Israel when the hostages came back, the mood of spiritual and sort of moral restoration.
Well, what does the title represent? Like, what is the dragon's prophecy?
In the book of Revelation, chapter 12, the Bible describes a battle between a dragon, which represents the devil, attacking a woman, representing Israel, and the woman is pregnant, representing the Messiah. So this is kind of a way of saying that there is a world behind the world, and that our contemporary conflicts are reverberations of a primordial struggle between good and evil, between God and the devil. It goes back to the very beginning of time. And one of the provocative ideas of the film is that the devil cannot defeat God. He can't dethrone God. So he tries to pick on the things that God cares about and tries to ruin those. So like in Genesis 1, 2, and 3, like, why does the serpent pick on Adam and Eve? They haven't done anything to the serpent. But the serpent's view is, listen, this is God's cherished creation. If we can ruin them, then the devil gets the last laugh on God. The devil gets his revenge. And for the same reason, the devil picks on the Jews. The Jews are God's chosen people. Look, let's run them out of their land from the river to the sea. Let's take their holy site of the Solomonic Temple. Let's put an Islamic victory arch on top of that called the Dome of the Rock.
I can't have him bark.
And then let's take what Jonathan Kahn, who wrote the book, The Dragon's Prophecy, he calls the spiritual Israelites, the Christians. Let's attack them. Let's see a rising tide of persecution against Christians. Let's see a hatred against Christians, even in Europe and America, which is the sort of historic home of Christianity. And so this doesn't just become sort of Bible speculation, because we can just look around the world and see, is it true that there is a rising tide of attacks on the Jews in Israel? Yes. Is it true that there's rising persecution of the Christians, even in the West? Yes. So to me, these biblical forecasts are borne out by the things that we can see with our own two eyes happening in the world today.
How did Revelation 12's imagery of the dragon chasing the women click for you as the perfect lens for October 7th? Did it feel like a eureka moment during production?
Well, when I looked at this footage of October 7th, I said to myself, this is actually very remarkable. I've never heard of perpetrators of great war crimes filming them and then being proud of them, posting them. This would be like the Nazis posting pictures of the death camps all over Germany, which they never did. In fact, there were no death camps in Germany. They were all in occupied Poland. The Nazis tried to hide those atrocities. Now, I've seen, crime stories of serial killers who like record all their acts and so on. This was sort of like serial killing on a massive scale by Hamas. And I realized that this is a kind of evil we haven't really seen, and it's very difficult for us in the West, particularly, to like wrap our heads around it. So the film begins by putting you right on the scene. I think this is what I try to do in all my films. In 2000 Mules, I'm not going to lecture you about election fraud. I want to put you in front of a drop box in the middle of the night. You can watch and see what happens. You make up your own mind. And the same is true here with October 7th. But once I draw you into October 7th, then we begin to explore the historical, the biblical. I was kind of amazed by what's going on in the field of biblical archaeology. All these, coins and stone inscriptions and clay seals coming out of the ground, artifacts, and they are historically authenticating the Bible. So figures in the Bible who we have accepted on faith for many, many centuries, but who did not live outside the Bible. They were only in the Bible, and therefore skeptics could say, well, you just made these people up. They're not really real. Who says that the Bible is about real people and true events? Well, now, through biblical archaeology, we see these figures like King David and Solomon and the prophets Isaiah and Jeremiah. They're like jumping out of the Bible and walking onto the pathway of history kind of via the route of archaeology. So all of this is brought together in the film in a beautiful tapestry. And a lot of people who have seen it have said, this is really my most sort of wide-ranging film, in some ways the most profound, not because I'm profound, but because it engages profound themes.
Tell us how the book shaped how you made the film.
The book is it's one part of the film. Jonathan Kahn kind of caught my attention when he said, hey, look, this battle between Israel and Hamas that's going on in front of us is almost a blow-by-blow replay of ancient battles described in Scripture 3,000 years ago between the Israelites and the Philistines, their longtime enemy. Now, Philistine, Palestine, this is the same word, this is the same name, and the important point is not just that it's the same name, the tactics are identical. The ancient Philistines, for example, stripped hostages to the waist and paraded them in Gaza, the exact same place. And right after October 7th, captives were stripped to the waist, paraded in Gaza. People are cheering, Allahu Akbar. And so these parallels are ingeniously drawn by Jonathan Kahn. Obviously, the nice thing about a film is you don't just know about them, you can actually visually see them. But Jonathan Kahn has made a reputation in speaking really to an audience that fully accepts the Bible. My audience is mixed. It's got Christians, it's got Jews, it's got secular people. So I'm like, I need to do the biblical archaeology because for people who ask me, so how do we know we can believe the Bible? I'm like, all right, we need to jump into the archaeological pit. We need to look at some artifacts. I'm going to convince you that while you can dispute the theology of the Bible, you can question the miracles if you want, but I'm going to prove to you the historicity of the Bible, that it's a real account of real people and true events.
If you could collaborate with Kahn on a sequel, what unanswered questions from the book would you tackle next?
Well, Jonathan Kahn has a very interesting book called The Return of the Gods. And the theme of that book, which is not about the Middle East, is that in ancient Greece, there were all these gods, gods with names like Aphrodite and Moloch, and these are gods that represented, in Jonathan Kahn's view, demonic spirits. The Greeks thought that they were, quote, gods, but they weren't gods. They were actually demonic spirits. But the Greeks were right that these gods had a certain kind of power, because demons do have power. Jonathan Kahn's thesis is that Western civilization, through Judaism and Christianity, kind of shut down these gods, cut off the portal to these gods. But now that our society has become more promiscuous, more permissive, more secular, we have reopened, you can almost call it the demonic portal. And so the old ancient demons are coming back. They're coming back in a new form. We don't give them those same names, but this is basically the legacy of the cultural left in the West. And so I find this all very fascinating also. I might do something down the road that develops these themes, but I think they tie in very nicely with the dragon's prophecy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what stood out to you in the archaeological research you did and the people you spoke to?
Well, the remarkable thing about the archaeology is that it's almost as if, as the world has become more secular, skeptical, unbelieving, as a lot of young people reject the language of the church and embrace the language of academia and of the university, it's like God has decided, guess what? I'm going to speak back now, but I'm not going to speak in the thunderous language of Genesis 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. I'm going to speak in the soft language of science. I'm going to be delivering up from the ground after thousands of years artifacts that are going to make even the most skeptical person go, I can't really deny anymore that there was an historic David, because here is an inscription written by the king of Syria, an enemy of David, who says, I won a great victory against the house of David. This is not even coming from the Jews. It's coming from the enemies of the Jews. And obviously there's a house of David. Well, there was a David. And not only that, but we have the ruins of David's palace, giant buildings with 20-foot thick walls. I'm standing in the middle of all this. So it's just fascinating to be, if you will, in the land of the Bible. Now, I'm very careful about it. There's some things in Israel that are disputed. Some people say that Jesus' walk on Calvary, the Via Dolorosa, is over here. Other people say it's over there. So you're not going to get me taking sides in that debate. But if you ask me, what is the chance that Jesus bathed in the pool of Siloam and walked up the pilgrimage road to the temple? The probability of that is 100%. Jesus did that because all the Jews who came from out of town, who didn't have their own private little ritual bath, they went to the pool of Siloam, they bathed over there. So to me, it's so great. You're walking on a road that Jesus walked on. And then, of course, we use some very clever AI to recreate that road as it was in Jesus' own time. And then you can see all the people selling loaves and exchanging money, and doves are flying around. And you suddenly realize, the Bible story you learned about Mary and Joseph losing the 12-year-old Jesus, it could easily have happened because these people, this is like a melee going on over here. And so the Bible comes to life in a very dramatic way.
Those tangible proofs
of history make Israel's place in the world feel unbreakable. So let's talk about what that homeland truly symbolizes on the global stage, Dinesh.
Well, I look at it, because my background is as a political guy, I don't look at this, I look at this in multiple layers. So I would say, if you were to ask me, what is our case for having any kind of kinship with Israel? I would go, there's a spiritual level, and that is the idea that God gave this land to Abraham and his descendants. Now, I agree that there is a new spiritual covenant that is inaugurated with Jesus, but that doesn't mean that God took back his land promised to the Jews. In other words, the church father Augustine talks about the city of God and the city of man. In the city of God, yes, I believe in replacement theology. I believe that Jesus is the only way. But in the city of man, which is the city of deeds and covenants and treaties, this is the world we live in. There's no such thing as giving a piece of land conditionally, right? If you and your husband buy a house, you own that house in perpetuity. You can give it to your descendants. If somebody were to tell you, you own this house, but if you behave badly, we're taking it back, then they never gave it to you. It was never your house to begin with. So the point here is, on the spiritual level, I believe that God did give this land to the Jews. Now, then there is the second level, which is the connection that we in America and the West have with Israel through Athens and Jerusalem. Our whole civilization is based on two pillars. Athens represents classical reason and technology and democracy, but Jerusalem represents the idea of creation, the story of the Exodus, the Ten Commandments, the book of Job, God and suffering, the Psalms, the prophets. So I don't believe our civilization, this civilization, would be as strong if one of those pillars were to be knocked out. I think it's important to preserve both. And then in a very practical level, I would say, look, You know, that's a very bad neighborhood over there. You've got some really bad global jihadis all the way from Saudi Arabia to Qatar, Iran, Turkey. Israel is basically like our cop on the beat. They are really good at fighting radical Islam, and we are not. We have done a terrible job in fighting radical Islam. In fact, radical Islam is seeping into America with relatively little effective resistance so far. We helped Khomeini to power by pulling the rug out from under the Shah. That's how radical Islam got a major state. We did expel the Taliban after 9/11, but they came back. Iraq was not such a great success story. So when you look at it, I say we Americans are far away from the action. We don't understand those people all that well. We don't quite know how to fight them. Israel is a very lean society that partly because they're so small, they're on the edge of survival. They're like the guys who live in a really bad neighborhood. They've learned to look over their shoulder. They've learned to be on their guard, and that makes them actually pretty effective sort of soldiers or cops on the beat. So these are all my reasons, and as you can see, they sweep from the spiritual to the civilizational to the practical. And this is why I'm really very mystified and dismayed that you've got some people on our side from the right who are like, no, we need to break with Israel. Israel is the real villain. I'm like, what are you talking about? If Israel is the real villain, and you undermine our relationship with Israel, you're actually strengthening the two worst groups in the world. On the one hand, you're strengthening the radical jihadis, the Ilhan Omars of the world, and on the other hand, you're strengthening the cultural left in the West. And those two groups are working together to undermine us.
If the world ignores this symbolism, what dragon-like consequences do you foresee playing out in the future?
Well, I think that the dragon's agenda is very clear. The dragon's agenda is to stamp out the Jews and to overtake the Christians. So I think if you were to ask these jihadis, you know, again, we're not just talking about biblical speculation. We ask them to draw up your wish list. They would go, we want Israel to be expelled from the river to the sea, which is no Israel at all. We want to take over this region. But don't believe that we're going to be happy or content if we do that, because our real goal is to do what the Islamic fighters couldn't do in earlier centuries, which is we want London and Paris, and we want Copenhagen and Prague, and we want New York and Chicago. And our goal is to bring, in the end, all of it under Sharia law. Now, I do believe that when if Sharia law ever comes to America, it won't look like the Taliban. It won't look like bin Laden. It's going to look more like Mamdani. It's going to look more like Tucker Carlson. It's going to be all American people who have been raised here, don't speak with an accent, wear very chic clothes, have pink cheeks. So I think that we as Americans need to be very careful about what we are kind of signing up for in this country, and we should not think that these villains, just like with the Soviets, right? They aren't going to show up in a Stalin overcoat or like a Hitler mustache. You're going to see fascism come in the guise of Antifa. In fact, fascism today in America is promoted by people who use the name anti-fascist. So we have to be very vigilant and alert to these threats that are very real. And Israel is just a little part of this larger picture. That's why the jihadis call them the little Satan and call us the big Satan. We are their ultimate target.
Thank you for that. We're getting ready to open up questions to other panel members here on Town Hall. Go ahead, Bob.
What was your takeaway from your interview with Israel PM Prime Minister Netanyahu?
My strategy in these interviews, you know, you have a figure like Netanyahu, he gives a lot of interviews, and I watched them, right? I notice he's really stiff. I think he feels a little under the gun, under siege. So my strategy is to, in a way, I want him to open up. I want him to say things in the movie that are really interesting that he hasn't said before. So I'll start by saying something like, all right, so what do you make of Jesus? Interesting question, right? He's the Jewish head of a Jewish state. And I'm kind of asking him, what's your take on the most famous Jew in history? And then I can see like the tumblers of his mind are moving, and he gives a really interesting answer. In fact, what he says is, he goes, you know, all these people keep saying Jesus is a Palestinian. He goes, no, he goes, Jesus is one of us. Jesus is a Jew. And his name is Yosef, and his mom is Miriam, and his name is Yeshua, and his mom is Miriam, and his dad is Yosef. And these are guys who, like, they eat Jewish food, and Jesus preaches in the synagogue, and he walks the pilgrimage road. So it's very interesting. I don't think 10 years ago Netanyahu would have made such a claim of Jesus, not as being theologically one of their own, but culturally and historically. So I read this as his effort to draw closer to the Christians, and say that he appreciates the solidarity of the Christians. And then, of course, I took Tucker Carlson's question, which he had raised to Ted Cruz, about the Jews of today versus the Jews of the Bible, and I just posed it to Netanyahu. I'm like, this is very relevant. Tucker mentions Netanyahu, so let me ask him about it. And then Netanyahu does his own kind of elegant dunk on Tucker. So what I'm getting at is this film is like right in the middle of all these events. And at the same time, it's discussing things that happened thousands of years ago. It discusses prophecies about the end times. So it is a film of a tremendously wide canvas.
Powerful stuff.
Powerful stuff. It's a perfect capstone to why this story matters now. Dinesh, thanks for unpacking
the Dragon's
prophecy with us. Now we're going to go to other members within our organization. First, we're going to start with Dr. Aaron Gray. He is Pastor's Point, a host every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Those that want to know Christian stuff related to the Bible. Go ahead, Dr. Gray, with your first question. Thank you.
How you doing, Mr. Dinesh? How you doing, sir? Thank you for coming on tonight.
For sure.
I want to ask you this. We're talking about the dragon in Revelation 12, and it says at the end how the dragon runs off to make war against those who follow the commands of the Lord.
Don't you think
that's referring to us who are believers today?
She's so beautiful.
And though the war does not look like it does with Israel, my question is, do you think from a political standpoint, militaristic standpoint, it will eventually come to that? And if so, how?
Well, let me just play out the script as I think, to me, the devil has two platoons right now. One of them is loosely the cultural left, let's call that the red platoon. And then the other is the Islamic jihadis, and let's call that the green platoon. So people today will sometimes speak of the red-green alliance. And as you know, these two groups are very different. They don't have the same end goal as each other. They can't live in each other's worlds, but they are united by the people they hate. And the people that they hate are the Jews and Israel on the one side, and the Christians and America and the West, on the principles of the West on the other. So let's say that they win. Let's say that the Jews give up, and let's say that we give up. You will now have a world that is ruled by two gangs. The cultural left, which is promiscuous, LGBTQ, anything goes, good is bad and bad is good. And the other, the jihadis, they are not like that. They have a very clear idea of what they want. And I would say these two groups are now going to come to vicious blows against each other, and only one of them is going to win. Either way, the world is in a massive mess, because either the world begins to look like Folsom Street, or the red light district in Amsterdam, that's if the left wins, or the world is going to look like the Taliban, and that's if the jihadis win. We'll be out of the picture one way or the other. In fact, we'll probably be relieved not to be around to see it. That's the script as they wanted to play out.
Very good question.
Thank you for the answer. We're going to get Rob Ohio up here now. Let's get him to unmute. He was...
Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you.
I'm running a little late tonight. Really good to see you on here, Dinesh. My question for you, do you ever foresee in the future where the two brothers of Abraham, or the two sons of Abraham, will have to unite to fight against a greater evil, namely Satan? Where they set their differences aside?
Very interesting thought, and I can envision a world in which something like that might be the case. In other words, in my imagination, I can say to myself, let's say that the Abrahamic religions had all come together in an affirmation of a shared code of morality. And let's say, for example, that they were upholding moral values in a secular world. in that environment, I would say, let's find common cause across even the theological divides. Not so we agree on theology, but we agree on how to organize society, and we agree on morality. I don't think that's the world we actually live in. I think that in the world we live in, we see that God and Satan operate through vehicles. In other words, through individuals, through people, through groups, so that you can almost talk about the armies of Satan and you can talk about the armies of God. And you just have to be really clear-eyed about who is on what side. I mean, in the end, this film, it's kind of funny because people are like, well, Dinesh, you know, are you being paid by Mossad? Are you being paid by Israel? And I'm like, that's not even what this film is about. Yeah, it discusses Israel, it discusses ancient times, it discusses the Bible, but in the end, what it's saying to you is that there's a great war raging between good and evil. You don't have a choice about whether to choose. You only have a choice about which side to be on. So all I would say to you is that while I don't claim to know the future, I'm not one of these guys who looks at the book of Revelation and tells you I can give you like a blow-by-blow account of what's going to happen. I simply say that by and large, as we approach the end times, the evil will become even more manifest and good will become more clear, and it is our obligation to always take the side of the good. I agree that there could be Muslims who are fighting on the side of civilization. I mean, look, when Trump is standing there and signing this peace pact, he's got Muslims all around him. He's got leaders from Saudi, the Pakistani president or prime minister is there, people from Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Jordan. So this is not, I'm not trying to declare war on Islam. I'm just simply identifying the jihadi radical strain of Islam that I think is a menace to the world and is in fact a tool of the devil.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you for that. Now we're going to
get
California State Director Christian. Go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Hi, Dinesh. Thank you for being here. I had a question that I thought about because of your movie has lots of information in it that would be very valuable to follow up on, just so that I can validate what was in the movie itself. So will there be any follow-up information for folks to independently go and see in person? Will you have like a map or anything else that you publish that will let some of us actually travel to locations that you might raise in your movie?
So there are a few key sections of the movie. The October 7 footage has already been ratified. It's footage released by Hamas. It's absolutely authentic. The second part of the film is out of Jonathan Cahn's book, The Dragon's Prophecy. And I would recommend getting the book. Why? Because it has all the biblical citations, all the background information you need is provided in the book. And the book is out there. The third section, which is on biblical archaeology, I must say is kind of new work done by me. I have just made a deal with Prager University, PragerU, to do a series of videos for them that are laying out the ground of biblical archaeology, kind of like the 12 greatest discoveries of biblical archaeology. I'll be doing more of that work next year in 2026. And finally, we have a tab on the movie website, which is the dragonsprophecyfilm.com. It's for churches and groups that want to screen the film in their church or in their group. You can actually sign up. We have an independent group that organizes all that. And that group is preparing a study guide to go with the book and with the film. And so when churches watch the movie, we'll be providing the study guide for free so that you can use it as a way for men's groups or study groups to meet and talk further about these ideas. So that's basically what I can suggest in the way of follow-up in terms of what exists already now and the things that I'll be doing in the future.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
that.
for that. Now we're going to call on Ron Nevada with the next question. Go ahead, Ron. Uh-oh. He's got to unmute. Hang on a second. Try it now, Ron.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for being here. I wanted to ask if you could enlighten me. what took the IDF so long to respond to the attack that occurred? It appeared, from what I understand, that it was many hours before they actually responded to the attack. Could you help me understand that more?
Yeah, I think I can. Um, to understand it, you have to have a little bit of a sense of what was happening in Israel right before the October 7th attack. Israel, fortunately for us in terms of understanding, closely resembles America. It's a deeply divided society, and it's divided exactly along the lines of our society. They've got a left that is just as vicious as our left over here, and Netanyahu was under the same kind of assault as Trump. There's major lawfare going on against him. They were trying to put him in jail. There were battles over the Supreme Court. And I think what happened is, quite honestly, the two sides were so busy fighting each other that they completely took their eye off the ball of what was happening with Hamas. Hamas had been in power since 2005. Nothing had happened. Israel became complacent, and so the attacks occurred. Not only that, but it's important to realize that the deep state, or the police state in Israel, is exactly like the police state in this country. Namely, it is dominated by an establishment that absolutely hates MAGA, absolutely hates Netanyahu, and so they were doing their best to undermine Netanyahu. So this is the internal complexity of what's going on inside of Israel. Although I do think that after this war, there has to be an investigation of how October 7th happened at all. And of course, I'm not going into the details here of why didn't Brigade Number 3 go from here to there. I'm just giving you the big picture, and I'm saying, look, one of the problems with democratic societies is even when you should know better, you become really complacent. FDR should have known. I mean, World War II is brewing. The Japanese are very likely to attack. And yet we're totally caught napping. We're totally shocked, and 1/3 of our entire Navy is wiped out in Pearl Harbor. 9/11, the radical Muslims had blown up our embassies. They attacked the USS Cole. We should have known that they're going to try to do something on the homeland. But guess what? We're looking the other way, and boom, down go our buildings. So, October 7th is not the solitary example of a society kind of missing the cues and allowing something like this to happen, even on a smaller scale. You look at a state like Texas, look at the panic in the police department at Uvalde. These are people heavily armed. There's one shooter, and like 10 of them, and they all have long guns, and none of them will go inside. And they had an order to stand down. So again, this is all very depressing to hear. We'd like to have bureaucracies that function more effectively, but I know enough about government here and around the world to know that by and large, whatever governments do, they usually do really badly.
Thank you for that, Dinesh. Good
question, Ron.
Good question, Ron. So now, Teresa Wiggins, our Christian pillar leader, with Red America First. Go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Hi, Brother Dinesh. I'm so grateful that you're here tonight and for all that you do. But my question is your scenario that you believe in the red and the green, which is basically those that are like the transgenders and homosexuals and all that being the red and the green being the Islamic. When you said that, it brought me back to what I believe, which is Barack Hussein Obama, who opened these doors of all this demonic in the first place. And is he not handling both sides of what you call the red and the green? He's right in the middle of it all, as far as I'm concerned. And I just wanted to know if you agreed with that, because I believe with all my heart that he is the Antichrist, the dark Jesus.
Well, my take on Obama is this. Some people think that Obama is like a secret green, that he's on the Muslim side, and this is what makes him ally with the left. I think the opposite. Obama is in the red camp, and because he uses the green as a strategic sort of battering ram to attack the West. So he was trying really hard to get the Muslim Brotherhood into power in Egypt. In fact, he succeeded until his plan was thwarted by the military, which overthrew the Muslim Brotherhood and now has power in Egypt. Notice how Obama was coddling Iran. It's not that Obama himself is a mullah or radical Muslim, but the way he looks at it is he wants to undermine traditional America. He wants to undermine Christianity, he wants to undermine Israel, and so in that battle, Iran is for him a kind of secret ally. So yes, Obama is very much part of the Red-Green Alliance. He's coming at it, in my view, from the red side.
Wow, very good. Rosemary's last question before we close.
Rosemary's last question before we close with Dinesh. Rosemary, go ahead.
Um, Given the Islamist extremisms and their intent to take over the world, do you think that the peace treaty with Israel will last, and whether this will continue to, or they will continue to expand and infiltrate the United States? Why or why not?
Number one, if you believe the Bible, then there's not going to be any ultimate solution in that region until the end of time. So I don't believe that the Trump treaty will make everything all right for a kind of golden era of peace and prosperity. That's not going to happen. Now, I don't think Trump thinks it's going to happen. Trump did say it. But I think Trump was giving a kind of messianic vision of this is like the way I want things to be, not so much that this is where it's actually going. Trump knows very well these Hamas people, they're not going to have a change of heart. This is a leopard that's not going to change its spots. I do think it is a massive achievement to get the hostages home, so I commend Trump on having achieved that. But no, the violent jihadis will think up new schemes. You can count on Hamas. Even if they closed on Hamas, every Hamas guy will now belong to a new organization called something like the Society for the Reconstruction of Gaza, the Society for Promoting Democracy in Gaza. These same people will be resurrected under new names, but up to the same tactics. The jihadis in other countries will continue to try to infiltrate the West, and they will continue to use the same pretext to do this. And they already have a formula for success. I mean, they've virtually taken over London. You have basically jihadi mayors of several other British towns. So, you know, if we get Mamdani here in New York, we're going to have the center of global capitalism, New York City, controlled by somebody who's not only a socialist, that's the red part, but he's also a radical Muslim, that's the green part. So we're getting the red and the green right here in the Big Apple, in not too far from now. And once they have New York, you don't think they're going to go after San Francisco, Chicago, Portland, you name it. They're even making a lot of headway in a red state like Texas. So bottom line of it is, you know, I think this is sobering news, but I'm not just getting it out of the Bible, I'm getting it by just observing the world. We're dealing with people who are very cunning. There are a large number of them, 2 billion Muslims worldwide. They have a tremendous amount of resources and money. Qatar is able to use its resources to, I mean, forget about, you know, paying a social media influencer $7,000. They buy our entire political science departments. They buy our entire studios in Hollywood. So you've got people who are making a real move on America and the West. And I do think it's important for us politically to not only wake up to that, but mobilize against it.
Thank you,
Rosemary.
Magaso,
Dinesh, we just got 3 more questions. Magaso, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. D'Souza, for being here. You're doing a great service for the people through your films. Is this your filmmaking, your legacy, or is there a step in your life to something more?
Well, I began my career in the Reagan White House. I then spent 20 years in various sort of research foundations or think tanks, so a little bit more in the academic world. For about 25 years, I did what Charlie Kirk was doing. I was speaking nonstop on the American campus, really focusing on young people. Obviously, those young people aren't quite so young anymore. And I did it at a time when things were pretty roiled, but they were not as dangerous as they have become now. I mean, I never worried that somebody's going to shoot me or put a bullet in my neck. And then about 10 years ago, I didn't stop with the books, but what I did is I began the documentary films because I said our culture has shifted more toward the visual. People are less likely to read a book, they're more likely to go watch a movie, and so it is a more effective way to reach more people. Also, movies, they appeal to the head and the heart, so they are a powerful combination of reason and emotion both. And I think for this reason, they're an effective device of transmitting ideas. So what the future holds, I'm not really sure. I'm a little worried about these young people who are, I don't blame them. They've grown up in America where in some ways they have not had the same prospects as their parents. A lot of them are very dislocated. They're very angry. And their institutions have lied to them. The CDC, the NIH, Dr. Fauci, the FBI, the professors. So I can see why they have become suckers for just about any conspiracy theory out there. But at the same time, it's important for them to regain their maturity and regain their intellectual balance. So I'm trying to think of ways in which I can play a constructive role in being able to reach out to those guys and say, listen, I kind of understand where you're coming from. But on the other hand, it's important to be aware of what's real in the world, and it's important to be able to discriminate between things that make sense and things that don't.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, Mike Velarde, our tax pillar leader, with the last member question, and then Valerie and I will close. Go ahead, Mike. Thank you.
Denise, first of all, thank you for everything you do. Your movies are amazing. I learned Islam from Kamal Salim and Zach Anani when I had a television show and how dangerous it is. I just watched the mayor debate between Curtis Sliwa, Cuomo, and he's going to win in New York City, which is going to be a nightmare for this country. People don't understand that they're here to take over. It's not a religion of peace. It's a religion of the sword and the book, as they say. And we're in deep trouble. And I'd like to know your thoughts about that.
One of the slogans that I've just recently become acquainted with coming out of these radical Muslims is this: first we go after the Saturday people, and then we go after the Sunday people. The Saturday people are the Jews. The Sunday people are the Christians. Now, the Muslims know that the Christians are bigger, they're more powerful, they control many more countries than Israel, so we are the bigger target. They're not going to get us immediately, but that's not to say that we are not their ultimate prize. An issue that I haven't resolved in my own mind. My wife is a little closer to your position, namely Islam is the problem itself. The religion itself is the problem. They're getting their gospel, they're getting their marching orders right out of the Quran. My own view has been to try to separate out. I think I'm a little bit more here in the Trump camp. Trump believes that there are decent Muslims who want peace and prosperity and would prefer to trade with you than to chop your head off. And Trump is trying really hard through the Abrahamic Accords of finding those people in Saudi and finding them in Jordan and finding them in Indonesia and finding them in Muslim countries, but putting them against the Muslim Brotherhood and against the jihadis. I think we should try that. Because politically it's harder to fight against 2 billion people, right? If we declare war on Islam, every Muslim in the world from Indonesia to Pakistan to India is going to basically say we have declared war on their religion. So I'm reluctant to declare a war on Islam. I think, first of all, we have our hands full in fighting radical Islam. Maybe after we defeat radical Islam, we can ask the bigger question of whether Islam itself is the problem.
Very good question. Thank you for that. So let me try to end things here really quick. Gotta get Michael down in a second. So Dinesh, thank you for coming on hashtag Town Hall tonight. It is a different experience with a group all over the country, from Hawaii all over to New York, California, Washington, and other states. But I just want to ask you a couple things. One, we have a Christian podcast Monday nights. Hashtag Pastor's Point. And Dr. Aaron and Wendy would love to talk with you about the Dragon's Prophecy on another date if you're open to that. And we would love to have you come back in 2026 on our podcast as well. Any things you want to discuss in the future. I really follow you a lot. You've actually helped me maneuver ways to get past the social media censorship, because we deal with that if we say Christ or Trump. they put us on the bottom. So just wanted to get some feedback from you. Thank you.
Well, really appreciate it. Reach out to me when the time is right for those things that you're talking about. If I can mention once again the website for the film, because it's now in streaming and DVD, it's the Dragons, plural, the dragonsProphecyfilm.com. The reviewers, the people who have seen it, from Laura Trump to Mark Levin to Roseanne Barr, just absolutely rave about it. Roseanne Barr says, I actually watched it 4 times, like back to back. I finished it, I started it again, because she found it so profoundly moving, and she found that there was so much in it that you sort of had to digest it, like take it in a second time and a third time. So check it out. I've enjoyed chatting with all of you, and I know all of you are doing good work, and really appreciate you for all the stuff that you're doing to save our country. We're in this together, and in the end, it's America that is the ultimate prize and the ultimate target. So we're the ones that are standing in the gap, and we need to make our movement a success.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. D'Souza, for joining us, and we'll definitely have you come back in the future. That's Dinesh D'Souza. Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice night. Wow, what an amazing opening for tonight. Now we are going to transition to Carlos Cortez really quickly. Talk with him. Carlos, brother, you've been connected with me for a long time. And Dinesh hit really well tonight. All those people that aren't Christ followers, they need to know that he's our Savior. But what did you think about tonight?
Oh man, thanks for having me, Ash and Val. Thank you. You guys are beautiful people, and thank you for putting me right behind Dinesh. Thank you. Now I got some shoes to fill. I don't know if I can be as eloquent as he is. I'm just direct, and I'm more of a, I don't care about your feelings. I'm here to talk about the truth. And the truth is that we got some big problems coming. God has put in my heart to be the watchtower, basically sound alarm about what is to come. And everything I say actually is not hype. I quantify it, I'll qualify it. It's just everything. Also, let me say my disclosure here. I'm not giving investment advice on this podcast. Everything's for information and education purposes only. But Dinesh was just powerful, man. Just I didn't realize he was that grounded in the word. And I love the red and green aspect of things. That kind of clarifies. I use that in the financial world. We colorize our money, yellow, red, and green. And once you figure out those colors, you're almost able to translate Wall Street and retirement and the FUD that happens. And as we speak, I'll kind of explain what those colors mean. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, let's talk about Red America First financial pillar. We want to educate people. We want to get them aware of what's going on. Try to get them to detach themselves from emotional propaganda that gets transmitted every single day on the airwaves, right? So any agendas is kind of where we focus to try to say, hey, that agenda is actually lying to you. And I've been connected with you, multiple years, and it's a blessing for us to work together because we want to get brothers and sisters of Christ to do really sound things with their money, and we believe you're the perfect leader for our financial pillar. So how does that look like? How can people sign up, right? They go to redamericanfirst.com, financial pillar, sign up, and you're going to work with them directly. What does that kind of look like? Thank you so much, Carlos.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Man, I'm honored. I'm honored that God has called me to kind of lead this movement of value-based investing with the heart of a patriot. For me, it's a little difficult. My father was a pastor. Also, I'm Hispanic. I'm Latino. I'm Puerto Rican. I was born here in America. I'm more Southern than most white people. But in the beginning, I'm like, why why, God? Like, I like this Wall Street thing. I grew up kind of poor. My dad's a blue collar worker. He's a pastor, a drill sergeant, and a welder. I had 3 jobs. Like, why don't I fit in? Like, you know, my friends are black and white. I don't have any people that are my color. If they are, they think I'm white. You know, they think I'm Mexican. Like, I was really confused. And then I was like in the church, you know, ministering, in the worship team, and like I couldn't even talk about money. So it was like the devil. And so that background has molded me into having a podcast one day. And what it is everybody has a gift. God has a journey for you. He makes you in his image. And even if you don't know where you're at in life, he's given us the ability to seek his face. He's given us a country where it's still legal to seek his face, to find answers. And so all that being said, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that you can be so different, but yet in God's will. And that's what he was doing. He was grooming me for this platform. He was grooming me for everything that I stand for. And I didn't even know it. I've been made fun of on John Oliver. I've been on X, just obviously Stu Peters and Lindell TV, because masculinity is offensive. Masculinity is offensive, and we have a masculinity problem in America. If you go to the Super Bowl and you're worried about Bad Bunny performing, then I question your own thought process. Like, why do you even care that you're getting drunk off chicken wings and beer? Like, there's other things to be mad about. You should be mad about your financial situation, your spiritual situation. If you're a man, if you can't do 50 push-ups, I question your manhood. You need to be able to perform and protect your spouse and your kids. No one wants a weak husband, a weak brother, a weak cousin. You need to be focusing on your internal being, your everything comes together financially, physically. You know, I have my own pillars is faith, family, fitness, and finance. And we also can't forget those 4 pillars. And it shows up. The reason why I speak like this, because it shows up. It shows up financially. Like, our spirit, like, a lot of people don't like when I say this, but your spiritual life your financial life is a reflection on your spiritual life. And it is actually biblical, because let me pull up some scriptures here. You know, we need to leave inheritance for our children. The Bible talks about that. And it is pretty amazing how we simply forget the major pillars and the calling that God has put into our hearts. And what does that show up financially? Well, when we become a good steward of our own assets, our own money,
Just dump that out and
we tend to lean in our own understanding. And so that's what I really wanted to talk about, is money is extremely emotional. Like, there's 5 things that are human nature. It goes to flight or fight mode. The first one is social. When your social being is questioned, like your friends, then you go into flight or fight mode. Like, this is why social media is triggering to the teenagers, and you see suicide all the time rate, because there's a social bullying, there's a cyber bullying, your social circle is getting attacked. There's a sexual need. There's an actual sexual need, like if you cannot perform for your spouse, or you know, you're embarrassed in that way, you become flight or fight mode. There's a financial need. If you lose your job, if you don't have income, you will go in flight or fight mode. There's a medical need, right? So when our health is questioned or just in any form challenged, we go into a flight or fight mode. And obviously there's a financial one, like I said, and also a dwelling one. So whenever those 5 or 6 characteristics get questioned, we go into this emotional scramble, and it shows up financially. We may be buying gold right now. Why would someone buy gold right now? The dollar's crashing. The dollar's crashing. Oh, the CBDC is going to be here. Well, let's look at the charts. The charts don't lie. The blood doesn't lie. The mirror doesn't lie. The weight room doesn't lie. And guess what? The financial charts don't lie either. And let me tell you, I love our patriots. I'm one myself. Been born and raised in any way possible through Christianity. The blood of Jesus Christ is my only Savior. He is my daily devotion, and I fail him daily. I fail him daily, but his grace covers me. The one thing I will tell you is that patriotic Christians make a ton of financial mistakes because they lean into the ununderstanding. They lean into what they quote unquote discern. And they'll be buying gold right now at an all-time high. Well, let me tell you something. The US dollar is cranking up. I was actually doing some math here. It's up 8% this month. No one's talking about the US dollar. Do you know the US dollar, it has gotten his butt kicked. I'm looking at a chart here. All the way in 2025, and it got smacked in 2024. This is why people have been buying gold, and there's not even enough supply to meet the demand. So there's a whole nother segment I can do on all this, but to keep time, paraphrase and short, the US dollar is actually going up, and you'll start to see gold and silver come down. So be very careful. I know a lot of people know about the banks, and there's other assets that are smarter. You just got to give us a call. I can't be here recommending everything because everybody's different. I can't give financial advice, and I know when I open this up with Q&A, they're immediately going to talk about their individualization and individual situation. I cannot give advice because of my license, unless it's a private consult. So when you have the US dollar popping up, Ashley and Valerie, you'll see the prices of gold. And what do you see in conservative TV and conservative podcasts? You see gold.
Buy gold, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold.
And then look into who owns those companies. You will see there's that red and green there. That's all I'm going to say. That's all. So there's green in there, and you got to be very careful of the serpents because they're out there. And the media is lying to all of us, especially in the financial markets. There's ways where the media can literally program the bro investor. If you're getting your financial advice and it sounds like, hey bro, or begins with hey bro, that's called bro investing, and you will lose your tail. You need to hire a financial professional that doesn't hey bro you, that actually quantifies it through charts and analysis and history, even though past performance is not indicative of future results. But also, we need to start studying versions that are outside of the stock market, outside of the banking index. This is why gold is popular. But I'm here to tell you, gold is also manipulated by the government and is controlled by the government. You have a tier 1 currency. The government actually has the right to recall it, and it's happened twice already. So you mix that in with the massive debt that we have. There's a whole nother risk out there that people are not even talking about that's bigger than 08, and it's called commercial real estate. If you drive, I can ask anyone here.
That's going to blow up. It's going to blow up.
If you go anywhere on this panel, wherever these people are from, and just ask them, how many vacant buildings do you see in your metropolitan area? I guarantee you that they will say there's a lot of vacant buildings. Do you really feel that these S&P 500 companies or Fortune 500 companies or local companies are going to continue to pay their commercial mortgage on that property when everybody's Zooming from home, docu-signing, FedExing? There's no need to go to the office anymore. My sister works for a big medical conglomerate. She doesn't even have to go to the office, but only like once a quarter. And it can be in any state because she's all over the country. But she no longer has to go. And she's a huge part of a huge medical group. Many companies are doing this. And so what I'm saying this is because we're going to see commercial property be the trigger that literally puts this thing in a massive financial reset. Now, the other issue I want to bring up, and we don't have much time to get into this, but there's a tokenization process. And I want to say this because I know the next conversation is going to be Bitcoin. And I kind of want to lay this up for him as well, because I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. And here is what I think is going to happen. The younger generation is going to inherit the baby boomers' wealth, which is the massive, in trillions of dollars, the biggest wealth exchange that our lifetime/universe has ever experienced is going to the millennials and the Z generation and Alpha generation. They're not buying the US dollar. They're not buying real estate. They're going to be buying crypto. Do you really think about this? Do you really think that these kids that have seen their parents been screwed, just like D'Souza said, the CDC has lied to them, the CIA has lied to them, the IRS has lied to them. They're not going to be buying the US dollar when they receive their inheritance. They're going to be buying Ethereum, they're going to be buying Bitcoin, or whatever meme coin or whatever crypto they feel emotionally attached to. And so that is why this is such a huge thing. The other crazy thing is this is how America, you know how China has manipulated their currency? Check this out. I've been doing some research on this, and this is mind-boggling. This is, guys, this is just my opinion. I'm speaking my opinion. Please don't make any investments on this. But I'm just observing what the Holy Spirit puts in my heart and discernment as well. But China has been manipulating their currency forever, since before you and I, Ash. What if the United States started doing that at their level? Do you know what that would look like? What if they got rid? A smart thing for the United States to do is sell all the gold. Completely sell Knoxville, sell the Federal Reserve, whatever they have, just sell all the gold and convert everything into Bitcoin or crypto and completely back. They keep on talking about a gold back crypto. What if they did that? They literally would annihilate everybody in the world financially, because that actual crypto will be the new reserve backed by whatever real asset. They keep talking about back in the dollar with gold from the gold standard. They're not going to go back in technology, guys. America's forward thinking. They're going to make big changes. Now, I think they would do that. I don't know if that would be the next 4 or 5 years or 30 years. But I really feel that they will completely change the whole currency up to a crypto, and they would get rid of gold, and it would just have this massive sell-off. On top of it, gold has gone parabolic, literally parabolic, and it will come down when the dollar starts to go up. If you look at the history of gold, you'll notice that the dollar was going down when gold was going up. I know there's a lot of talk, but seriously, guys, like the commercial real estate is problematic right now. So much that it's going to affect the everyday Americans. It's going to affect literally banks. Banks make their money off of commercial lending, and if the interest rates are extremely high, like they have been for the past 2 or 3 years, thanks to Joe Biden
Holly, thank
and
you
inflation,
for letting Valerie and I do this.
if they can't make money and they're losing money, guess how they get their money? They get it from your money. They actually do what's called a bank bail-in. This is real, and I want to make sure you guys understand this, because this is just me being heart of a social worker, mind of a capitalist. The bank literally, and that's to your money. When you have a checking account, you have forfeited your money to the bank. This is done, and look it up, 2010 Dodd-Frank Act. And basically it's called a bail-in process. There's already attorneys already lined up to be ready to receive cases from you.
So I got a lot of questions, Carlos. You ready for some?
Hopefully. I got a 10:30 hockey game I got to go to.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so what time you got to leave?
I can leave around 9:45, 10.
Okay, sweet.
So men's adult league.
So our American Bitcoin board member might squeeze out. So he was always kind of iffy, anyways. But
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
no.
For him.
Huh?
I was setting it up for him.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I gotta tell you, with inflation cooling off, right? But I'm not feeling it technically. There's still a concern with inflation. How is RAF's financial pillar going to adjust people that sign up with our group? How are we going to adjust, protecting the rising costs while maximizing their growth?
I love that. I love those dogs too. That's adorable. So that's a great question. So inflation. So, man, I can answer that very easily. But I also like to bring the technical component of it. Technically speaking, inflation is going to be a lot harder to cool down. So there's a few things about inflation, and we're actually in a deflationary, like the risk is deflation, and deflation is such a huge problem. Everybody talks about inflation because they see it and they feel it, and we actually eat it and drive with it. It's called food and petroleum. Food and petroleum are the two sectors in the consumer price index that is literally the most inflated area, and it hits the American consumer. Like, who the heck wants to spend? How much are eggs? $9, $10 at its peak? It was ridiculous.
12 in some cases.
Funny story. I'm lactose intolerant. I'm not ashamed of it. I have to buy lactate milk. That daggone thing is like $8, $9 a gallon. And my kids drink it. I yell at them. I'm like, dude, this dad's milk. You can drink regular milk. I have to drink the lactate milk. My stomach hurts when I drink milk, and I love milk. But I get mad at them. Anyways, inflation is high. Inflation is high because it's consumer spending. If you look at the CPI, especially our folks in Social Security, you notice that the cost of living adjustment does not keep up with inflation because they take petroleum and they take food out of the consumer price index, and then they base it off of the CPI minus the two major sectors, food and petroleum. So this is why you feel it so hard, Ash, is that those sectors are just highly inflated, man, and doesn't matter who's in office, there always will be highly inflated. It's cool to see gas. I was in Dallas, Texas, my son's hockey tournament this past weekend, and gas was like $2.20 over there. Pretty amazing. Versus here in Florida, I don't even know what it is in Florida. I drive a diesel truck, but yeah,
it's like 270, something like that.
Okay, yeah. To answer your question, there's going to be a lot of solutions. Everybody has individual, like if you have stocks and portfolios, like give us a call. I can give you investment advice. I can tell you that there are better options on the safe side. If you're afraid of a banking crisis, which I think could come very soon, and people are sleeping on it, then we need to protect ourselves with dollar for dollar fixed products. There's alternatives, not just gold, but there's stable real estate, there's stable insurance-based products that are outside of the banks, outside of the stock market. That's what I specialize in. There's alternative investments that do well when the market does bad. There are some risky other trades that, for those that have a knack for risk, they do well when the market crashes. You just have to give us a call. And I am a very defensive growth person, so I'm not the guy that's going to get you 40% returns or tout these guarantees that we're going to get this. But for those of you that are 65 and younger, we have access to a safe product that is guaranteeing a 29% bonus, and this is me acting as insurance advisor because it's an insurance-based product. And most people want dollar for dollar on their money. So there are insurance carriers that are literally giving money away on yesterday's interest rates, and that's another thing. Interest rates are dropping here shortly in about less than 2 weeks. And so if we can find an asset class, find a vehicle that will protect your principal, and you can grow your assets inside of an account that's going to grow with the S&P or NASDAQ anyways. Now we have a place where principal is protected, we get a guarantee on our money, and we're outside the banking edicts, which another technical component, if you look up KRE, I wish I could show you my stock trading desk here. And if I pulled up KRE,
Share your screen. And real quick, before he shares his screen, I want to walk you guys through how you're going to sign up with our financial pillar, right? So you just go to redamericanfirst.com. We have a pillars pull down. You just go to the finance pillar, and right here you read about it, sign in, submit your stuff, and we're gonna be able to help you directly. Go ahead and share your screen, Carlos. Go ahead.
oh, I wasn't ready for that because I'm on a different. I'm on my podcast computer, not my trading computer. But give me a second. I think I can log in here.
No problem. In the meantime, Victoria Hawaii's got a question. This is out of order, but we'll let her talk. Go ahead, Victoria.
Thank you, Ashley. Hey, Carlos. Thank you for your akamai, as they would say here in Hawaii. I wanted to ask what your take was on the Genius Act.
You know, the Genius Act has been. When was that established? That was established this year. Let me pull it up. I did look into it because I just had a client call me about it.
Roughly May?
They had so many acts coming in. Oh, I'm sorry. So you had the three of them came in. Three of them came in at the same time. You had the Genius Act, you had the Clarity Act, and oh man, you got me there. But there was three of them that came, and one of them, I got to look it up. One of them was actually like stability of the CBDC as a commodity, and the other one was buying and selling of certain states, like the interlining of crypto. So that is another crazy subject. What I will tell you with all these acts and the intricacies, even though I need to brush up on all the acts, I will tell you that the whole goal of all of this, Miss Victoria, is that they want to track, trace, and control you. Medically, academically, financially, physically, socially. They just want to track, trace, and control. And all of this means a form of track, trace, and control. That all these acts, the Genius Act, and there was another one that just came out with it. And basically, they have a knack for the crypto space. So with Bitcoin, you cannot control. It is truly a decentralized asset. You cannot control Bitcoin. You cannot, because you can control the US dollar by what? By printing, borrowing, and just releasing it, printing out, and you can control quantitative easing. You can't do that with Bitcoin.
Who did that?
You can't. It's already in code. There's actually less Bitcoin every 4 years that comes into fruition. So it is really the people's choice of currency. So the government knows this, and they have a huge problem. The government wants access to the currency because it builds national strength and obviously international power. So what do? They find ways to control something they can't control. And that's where you get all these acts. And, you know, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but all these acts basically have all that in common. It's very simple. Like, you remember when TD Bank and the Canadian truck drivers in January 6th, what did they do in Canada? They said, hey, if you were in Canada, if you were near, you know, the Washington, D.C., Bank of America gave their list to the feds and said, here's all of our people that were involved or bought something during January 6th. And so this is what the track, trace, and control agenda does. You saw Dr. Mercado got debanked during 2020. So this is a real thing. This is a track, trace, and control, and people don't realize. I tell people this all the time. When you sign up for a checking account and it has an FDIC stamp, you literally have given them a right to control the asset. not just financially, but also behavior. If you say something online they don't like, they can value as a stable person and debank you. That is real. That is not hype. So some of these woke banks have done that before. And I don't need to go on the list of people that have been debanked, but it's really, really a true thing. The Genius Act, in my opinion, and all these other acts that come out, it's just to track, trace, and control you. Bitcoin was supposed to be decentralized as private people's currency, and now the government has a big act to try to control it, which they can't.
Thank you
for that, Victoria. Brandy, Ohio, quick question before Carlos goes into his chart. Go ahead, Brandy.
Yeah, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on XRP versus Bitcoin, and yeah, basically the difference between those two.
Well, you got me at a good time, dear. I'll give you my opinion, and I'll show you some facts here. All right, so if my chart would actually work, that'd be great. Well, like there's a little lag. So XRP is interesting because XRP has a Ripple technology, right? So people love the Ripple technology. I don't know if you've ever used it before, but it is extremely fast. And the thing with XRP, oh, that's the US dollar, by the way. You see how it has been going down and now it's popping back up? So let me pull up XRP. So I have a sell signal here. XRP is actually headed really, really down. So if you have XRP, I can't give a recommendation, but I probably will be taking a good portion off the table because it is pretty much going down. I don't know what your question is about XRP, but short term, we're going to start losing some value here very quickly. This pink box notifies me. It's kind of like a yellow light. Whenever it's over this white line, this is a 200-day moving average. And so what happens is that once it hits this average, it just goes down. Also, another indicator here saying the red traffic lights, red means down, and this is short-term momentum. This is a medium-size, mid-term momentum, and long-term momentum shifting down. So if I'm trading this, I would actually be making money shorting XRP. The longevity at XRP, it does have a future, right? I mean, we saw it hit some pretty remarkable waves. He says, look at this push from $133 million market cap to 193. Like it shot up pretty well. It was stagnant for what, 5, 6, 7 years? Look at all that stagnant channel. It was just dead forever as it went through the SEC lawsuits. But in the overall spectrum of things, it's going to be volatile. You will lose money here shortly. It will go down. That's my analysis. Of course, I can't guarantee anything. This is just my analysis based on my charts that are pretty accurate. And I got a lot of experience in this formation pattern. If I'm buying this right now personally, I would be shorting XRP. Like you would make money shorting it right now. I don't know if that answers your question, but in the long macro level, what the financial companies will do is they will make their own Ripple technology. They don't need Ripple technology. They'll just get the code and make it their own and create their own blockchain, like their own Ripple technology, and call it, I don't know, Bipple or something. That's what the financial world does. They copy each other.
Wow. Thank you for that question, Brandy. So you were, before you brought the charts up, you wanted to tell us something, and then we kind of got you sidetracked with some questions. Go ahead.
Yes, the S&P 500 is up 13% this year. It's been phenomenal. The NASDAQ is up 17.5%. And this is the S&P 500, and I'll show you gold real quick. And people are on this gold bandwagon, like with silver as well. It's the same thing. XAG, USD. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. So notice all of this strength on gold, right? This looks like it's just, I mean, it is parabolic. But look what's noticed. I don't know if you see this down here. I don't know if you can zoom in. But do you see this red dot here?
Yes.
Here? That means there's weakness. My long term is not weak yet. But this is serious, guys. I want you to understand that people are buying gold and not knowing that the US dollar is going up. That is because you start to see this sell pressure because the US dollar is going up. Now, I'll tell you another secret. If you want to make money in the stock market, in a market crash, this is the bad boy here. This is called the volatility index. The volatility index measures, it literally measures the fear and greed of the markets. So basically, when the market goes up, the volatility index goes down. When the market goes down, the volatility index goes up. And you can't buy the volatility index in itself. You got to buy ETF that mirrors this index. Secondly, of course, this is not investment advice. I'm just speculating here. I have a blue cross right here. So this signals that this is going up. Don't worry about the sell box. Basically, if you bought here, my software is telling you to sell here. But this blue box that you see here basically means it's going across this white line, which is 200-day moving average, and it's going to go up from here. Previously, where do you think the volatility index went during the peak? Yeah, it went pretty high. So as this volatility index, if you look during COVID, it was all the way up at 70. We just shot from like 14 to 25 right now, which is insane. So we were here just a few days ago, and now we're up here. Look at that volatility, guys. That means the market is going to go down. So if you're on this call,
Wow. So Carlos, we've been saying this for a while when you come on and talk, that we need to, strategically pull money out of the stock market and reallocate the assets because, indicators are pointing that it's going to have a market correction and it's going to be a big one.
I believe it could be a huge one because of the commercial real estate. The job reports are coming negative. A lot of negative news out there. I was just, and that's what I wanted to say. Speaking of negativity, with the lower interest rates, I could get into the yield curve. Ashley, in common sense, what does this look like to you? Red bars, this going down. What does that look like? Would that look like a stock that you would buy?
That's something that we need to sell.
You know what this is? This is actually the banking index, guys. Regional banking index.
Central banking index?
Regional. So your PNCs, your region banks, your smaller to mid-sized regional banks. The East Coast banks. The banks are not like in every state, but they have the Truists of the world, the regions.
They're in trouble.
Yep. So this has gone down from 64, a high of 66, now it's going down to 59. We see this in the characteristics when we had the bank crisis in 2023. You remember when First Silicon Bank went default? You will see this here. It affected everything. Look at this. Boom. This was back in 2023. We had bank failures. So I had a sell pressure here. Same red lights, same pattern. And look what happened underneath. It literally fell like 40%, the banking index. This time around, guys, if the banking index falls and you have your assets and your IRA and your cute little certificate of disappointments, you will lose your butt and you will not do anything about it because you can't. Because when you sign a certificate of deposit, also known as a certificate of depreciation, you've given them the legal right to take your money.
Wow. Well, let's just I'm gonna still screen share one more time.
Yeah.
Because Carlos, you're absolutely right. We're in a volatile market right now. And we need to make sure that our team members across the country, our brothers and sisters, are doing the right thing. Because I'm afraid that if you keep your money where it is, you're going to be sad. So go to redamericanfirst.com, go to Pillars Finance, and fill this out. Just, really easy form for you guys to fill out. We want to protect our Christian brothers and sisters out there. We got another question, real quick. Brandy made a point in the chat. She says, housing, rent, these are also problems that are coming with the economy, right? How do you see that, Carlos? And then we got a question from Michigan, and then we're going to let you go to your ice hockey game after one more question here on my side. But Valerie and I are very blessed, Carlos, to have you lead the financial pillar. So go ahead, Brandy, and bring up your point on the rent and the housing. Over.
Yeah, so like I don't know if anyone else has noticed in their markets, but like a $2,000 rent is a very common thing now, just for just like a regular 1-2 bedroom apartment in like Ohio, for example, in Central Ohio, and that's like considered affordable when I don't know how many people on here actually think that that's actually affordable, even with a 2-income household. I mean, you add that up with your gas prices, like you were talking about, and you add up the food prices. I mean, is that really? I mean, that to me, that's inflated rents. What do you think is behind that?
Yeah, it's always supply and demand. Obviously, it's really tough to fight that. The way I would tell clients is we just have to systemize, just like you pay your bills, the groceries. It's really not how much money you make, it's really how much money you can automate and save. So what I would recommend for someone in that tough situation is really look at subscriptions, look at things that you cannot, that you don't really see or do not use, and start saving into a good mutual fund or a liquid investment. You're just not at a place where you have enough wealth to leverage it and put it in a market or put it in a safe product to grow. You're in another stage. Unfortunately, you're not alone. There is about 42% of people my age, 42 and younger, the millennials, that are half of them are in that situation. Maybe they're struggling financially, rent is high, the income doesn't keep up with inflation. And so people need 2 or 3 jobs, unfortunately, just to kind of get ahead. So what I would say is look at the Netflix subscriptions. I just checked the other day on my iPhone. I had like 7 subscriptions I didn't even know about, like $100 a year. That's just nuts. I don't even use some of the software on my apps. And I mean, there's so many things that you can save money on. Like I don't go to Starbucks anymore. I go to Wawa and get coffee. This is like $2 versus $7. There's things that you can do to save, and unfortunately, the rent is going to be high. People don't have the money to buy homes right now. Here in Florida, I don't even think, Ashley, can you even get a 1-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month?
No, the prices are crazy. We got a question from Michigan. Anton, go ahead. Thank you.
So you're saying that gold and silver are not a good investment and that the dollar's going up?
I'm not saying it's not a good investment. What I'm saying is that if you have it, I would personally shave off a good 20 to 30% off of it when it's high.
Oh, wait a minute. He's got one more thing to say.
Why would you do that?
Have you ever met anyone that got upset?
It makes no sense, because gold is through the roof, all-time high. Silver is all-time high. It's speculated to actually be about 144 by the end of the year, silver. And gold is going to get a readjustment. So why on this green earth would you suggest to people to get rid of precious metals and go into, what were you saying, stocks? the bond market's going to tank. XRP, all these other cryptocurrencies, these dead currencies, they are going to go with one, but it ain't going to be some return on your investment like you're going to get out of precious metals. It's just not. So I just don't understand where you're coming from and saying to liquidate 20% of your holdings when a massive swath of Americans in the world are converting their 401ks into gold and silver holdings. It doesn't make any sense to me because it doesn't actually acknowledge anything that's going on in the market. And for investing in small banks, what is going on here? And when you talk about Silicon Valley, that was an attack on Silicon Valley. That was an attack from the white hats onto the black hats because that's where they do business and that's where they control everybody. And it has nothing to do with silicon or silicon. This has to do with the people there. And the majority of the people that were angry when that bank crashed were all Asian and they were all on foreign visas. And we all know that there's about 2 to 20 million here on these visas that are working for the CCP. So I just don't understand your angle on all this. If you could just please.
Yeah, I understand your frustration. It was pretty. It's emotional response, right? So first and foremost, like we got to think logically. When you have gold and silver, you look at it as a commodity. It's a commodity. So when you have an asset that grows parabolically like it has, I'm not saying that gold is not going to go to 7,000. What I'm saying is it will be smart to take some off the table. I personally own silver and gold. I'm not selling all my gold, and I would never say buy the stock market right now. I'm actually saying that I think the market's going to go down, and actually gold and silver could go even higher. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know where you heard me recommending stocks. I don't think I ever said that in this call.
No. Rob, can you unmute Rob, Ohio? So you're right, Carlos. You didn't say that specifically. Rob, I'm gonna need your help here in a minute for the intel round. Carlos, one last question. I know you gotta go to your hockey stuff.
Sure.
We talked about market volatility. We talked about cryptocurrency, digital assets. We talked about the commercial real estate. It's going to kickstart this financial reset. But how can we handle the interest rate situation? Because we're being told rates are going to go down, rates are going to go down. Rates haven't gone down. I mean, it was just a percentage point the last time they did it. But what's your take on the interest rates? And then we're going to schedule another session for you to come back and talk to the team in the future. So.
Sure, I'll be glad to. Interest rates going to come down again this month, possibly as well in December. They even said in January, overall, like about 150 basis points is what they're aiming towards. I don't know if that will come into fruition. Look, the Fed is always late to the game. We know that. I personally bought TMF last year. TMF was an ETF that tracks interest rates, and I bought call options on it. I don't need to pull up the chart, but basically it makes money when the interest rates go down, and I'm down 80% on that trade because I thought they were going to lower interest rates last year, but they did it this year, which is crazy. If we look at the inverted yield curve from, fun fact, the inverted yield curve, so the 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year. So you want to know that your country or the U.S. economy is going to go in a crazy elasticity or just a violent territory, look at the yield curve. So the yield curve, basically from 2022 to 2023, was paying a 4.25. I'm sorry, from 2023 to 2024, was paying 4.25 for a long time, even up to 4.5. The 10-year was paying 4.1. So a 2-year investment was paying just as high as a 10-year investment in the bond market. When that happens, that is called an inverted yield curve. And so 90% of the time, a year later, you will see a stock market correction. And it happened in 1999. They lowered interest rates and the yield curve was inverted. It's the uninversion when it goes back from a healthy 2-year paying, let's just say, 3.8%. The 5 years paying 3.95 and the 4 years paying 4%. I'm sorry, the 10 years paying 4%. That is a normal yield curve. But when it uninverts and it goes back into normal yield curve, that's when we have terrible, terrible things in the market. Look at 1999, look what happened in 01. Look what happened in 2019. Look what happened in 2019. We had COVID. And then obviously the yield curve inverted in 2024. And look what's possibly to happen in 2025, 2026. So anytime the yield curve uninverts, we see a massive situation.
Valerie has a quick question. Go ahead.
The Federal Reserve, are we going to like move into the Treasury from the Fed, or what have you heard anything about that?
If we ever get the Fed eliminated, that'll definitely change the economic status of our country.
Have you heard anything about that? Like Trump moving the Federal Reserve into the Treasury?
Well, the Federal Reserve is illegal. It's not even constitutional.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you read the book Jekyll and Hyde Island, I mean, it's all there. I don't know how to answer that. And basically, what I think is it's all to track, trace, and control you, whatever that looks like. It all goes hand in hand. Like I said, financially, medically, spiritually, it all comes together. Mm-hmm. And the Fed right now is getting paid by the banks. So the banks, they're in bed with the banks. The banks want to, the banks are not going to make as much money because they're the number one provider of the income for the Fed is the financial services and real estate. So you'll always see the financial firms and real estate kind of getting their way. The banks get their way, the real estate, the tax laws get their way, because they are the number one provider and the number one income source for the IRS.
Thank you for that, Carlos. Last question. Our Hawaii State Director, Victoria, go ahead with your question, and then we're going to go to state intel round. Carlos, we love you, brother. You are always going to be
part of our family. Go ahead, Victoria.
Part of our family. Go ahead, Victoria.
Thank you, brother.
I'll try to make this quick. So we know in the stock market, value is placed by the consumer, the people who are buying it. So right now, Anton's point of gold, silver are valuable, yes. Crypto, yes. So going forward, going forward, it's kind of really where value is placed by the consumer. And if we're looking into future generations, where do you see future generations placing that value?
So I wanted to make it clear. Was his name Anton, the one that was like pretty upset?
Gold, silver, mean, bullets, food, those are important too.
I am bullish on precious metals. I never said you should sell everything. I'm just saying it's good to lock in profits. That's all I'm saying. You got to lock in profits because, God forbid, when the U.S. dollar cranks back up and gold prices come down, you don't want to have that story of, I should have done that. I could have done it.
That's why we diversify.
It's biblical. Like, we should have 7, 8 different ways of income, the Bible says. So I don't know what the whole being upset about is when it comes to just locking in profits. Like, you'll never be upset locking in profits, even if it's 10%, 15%. But I really feel that silver emotionally could get over $100. I really feel as AI takes all over and we become more of a surveillance state. Remember, all this is about track, trace, and control. In order for them to track, trace, control you, they're going to need AI. They're going to need computers. They're going to need technology. Silver is the underlining aspect of all of this. So silver is going to be. I like silver better than gold, obviously, because it's cheaper, but it's also an industrial metal. It's not controlled by the government. So that alone will long term have the effect on silver. I think it could hit $100 with possibly the next 2 to 3 years. So right now, it's 57.
So one thing before you go and go to your hockey match, the rise of AI driven investment tools is trying to reshape kind of the way people can utilize their stocks or investments and things like this. What are some risks people should look for? What are some risks people should look for related to these AI driven investment tools? Because our RAF family in the financial pillar, we don't want to stray them in the wrong direction. So what are some things that we could avoid for? And thank you for coming on tonight, Carlos. As always, look, this is a long-term thing. Having you part of our organization, and we've been watching you, and make no mistake, you're part of our family. So,
thank you, Ashley. No, that I'm very partial to you, man. Like you hit my soul button. Just so everybody knows, and I don't think he minds me telling this story. I was dying on my hospital bed. I didn't get a lot of phone calls. I got a lot of text messages. I got a lot of Facebook messages. No, not a lot of Facebook messages. I didn't have a lot of people reach out. Ashley was one of the only people that reached out, and you are very special to me, brother. Thank you so much. It was you and my pastor, and obviously my family, my wife. So you actually called and checked up on me.
Look, we were going through dark times back then, brother. We were being lied to in every channel, every news station. It was just complete madness. So when I heard what was going on, the first thing I wanted to do is get you out of the hospital, because the protocols were against us. The odds, what does it say in the Hunger Games? The odds were not in our favor.
Yeah, I got Resdemivir. But I had ivermectin in my pocket.
Oh, yeah, ivermectin! If I had my keyboard, everyone would be cheering you on right now. Well, go watch that hockey game tonight. We appreciate everything, and we're definitely going to have you back. We're going to have a big talk with you. You're not far away. We're about an hour and 15 minutes between each other, so we'll make sure to get this stuff going. So.
Link up. And look, if anyone wants to find more information, they can also go on my podcast. I only have like 500-600 followers, but it's interesting because my show gets like 30,000 views, but I only have like 400 or 500 followers. But you can just go on YouTube or Rumble, and Rumble is pretty much where I do most of my stuff. But you can look up Scriptures in Wall Street if you want to follow me there. I am always putting content for over 4 years now. We talk about these things more in depthly. I don't bring on any sponsors because I don't need to get paid to skew my message. I pay for my own studio, pay for my own airtime, I pay for everything. So everything that I speak is actual factual and not catered to a company. I recently had an offer from private equity to buy me out for over $9 million. And they said, Carlos, we want to offer you something, but you have to change your message. And I said, go pound sound, dog.
Not changing my message. Yeah, all right. Amen, brother.
So I know how to make that much in a short time frame. So yeah, you can go pound sand. I'm not supporting the LGBT community. I'm not supporting the track, trace, and control community. I'm not supporting the Luciferian agenda. And I'm definitely not emotional about any of this stuff, because that's what Satan wants. He wants you to be emotional about your money so that you can make stupid decisions, irrational decisions, and put you in a spirit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I'll leave with this. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and sound mind. So my question to all of you is, make sure your portfolio is of love and sound mind, and that you're not fearful. That you don't let fear kick in, because he will use your money to sneak into your marriage, your fitness, your finance, and your faith. So
You're absolutely right, Carlos. So, Second Timothy, what was the second one? Holly asked.
2 Timothy 1:7. For I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and sound mind.
Perfect. Well, Carlos, we love you, brother. Enjoy your hockey, and we'll have you come back. And don't forget, next Thursday, we're going to go over the resiliency pillar because we shall not depend on FEMA anymore in any national situation for any situation because we, the people, need to work together and get past all this stuff. Carlos, any last minutes before you depart?
No, just follow me on Scriptures in Wall Street. I would love to give my office number if you just want to have a conversation and want me to look over your financial situation. We got a little waiting list going on right now, obviously with the volatility index kicking up. But you can give my office a call, 9 to 5 Eastern, 813-448-3446. And
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, it's 813-448-3446. And we have the ability to help pretty much anyone in the country. We're 100% virtual.
Outstanding. Thank you, Carlos. Have a good night, brother. And don't get hurt in that ice rink, okay?
We're good. We're good. You guys have a good one. Love y'all.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to call on Pastor Gray real quick before we go into the intel round. And also Teresa Wiggins. Christianity is really important to our nation, right? We were founded on these principles, and over the years, our country has, by design, really, because Satan's armies have infiltrated literally every industry vertical that exists in our country. But Dr. Gray, let's talk about tonight's episode with Dinesh D'Souza and the Dragon Prophecy. How did you think that went? And let's definitely talk about that. And then I'm going to ask Teresa her opinion as well. Dr. Gray, you're first. Thank you.
Well, dragon prophecy and what goes on there is not. It's not really I don't like to really call it a prophecy. I understand what they're saying, but it's been something that's been going on from the beginning of time. It's something that will continue until the end of Revelation. When that happens, when we see God throw the false prophet, the Antichrist, the beast, and the dragon Lucifer into the pit of hell. When that happens, that whole time that fight goes on. Now we will have 1,000-year reign of peace for, where Christ will reign here on earth with us, and then the dragon will the Lucifer will be freed once again after that, before he's thrown into the pit. And I do want to say this: there's a lot of people who say that we're living in that 1,000-year reign now. No, that is just not correct. We're not living in that 1,000-year reign now. What we have in Revelation has not happened yet. It has not occurred yet. We see, and I know this because what we see going on, what we see there before the 1,000-year reign, as he said, we see playing out right here on earth today. So there's too much going on here happening now for that to be true. So that's a war that's been going on because of the hate, the pride of Satan that he has for us, against God. And that's just a battle that's always going to be continuing on, because he is too prideful to admit defeat. He knows he cannot win. He knows he's defeated, but he will never stop, because his pride is what is him. It's what he holds on to as his identity, and that's the real thing. That's why the Bible tells us over and over again, don't let anything of ourselves be our identity, but let Christ be our identity. And that is why, because Satan's identity has become his pride, and it's what keeps driving him to fight this losing battle.
Thank you for that, Doctor. Teresa, but before Teresa chimes in, Dr. Gray, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hashtag Pastor's Point. What's on this Monday? Go ahead.
I believe we are on chapter 6.
Chapter 6.
Yeah, I believe we're on chapter 6 Revelation, which is where we get the release of the first 4 scrolls, the four horsemen of the apocalypse is what we as humans like to call it. though it's not really a biblical term, but it's what we as humans like to call it. We're going to go over what those horsemen are, what they mean, and what they represent here in this world when they happen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Dr. Gray. So hashtag Pastor's Point. Sign up today. RedAmericaFirst.com. Teresa, Christian Pillar Perspective. How did you like the show with Dinesh D'Souza? Was it spot on?
Yes, definitely. I really, it really, when he was talking, I was like, it was something that I truly believe in my heart for, and I feel that the Lord is, have me, believing is that Obama is the Antichrist. He opened all these doors up and it's just gotten worse and worse, each year between the red and the green being the transgenders, the homosexuals, the lesbians, whatever you want, those are from that group, and all the money he gave to Iran. I believe he'll use the UN, to do all that he's planning to do. But I do believe that we are in the end times, that, that Satan is wreaking havoc because he knows he's in the last hour. So, I mean, I really enjoyed, yes, I definitely enjoyed Dinesh. And I believe that we're about on the same page with each other. And I also like Jonathan Kahn as well, so.
Perfect.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for your insight on that. We are now going to state intel round. We have a new state. Well, we got two new state directors to announce tonight. One is June Soliday of Pennsylvania, and then we also have Mike Engelman, Indiana. He's going to actually go over the state to state with us really quickly. I'm going to call on someone to help me first. Ron, Nevada. Let's get an example of how this goes. Stand fast. Let me call Ron, Nevada. Hang on. One second. Earth to Ron, Nevada.
Okay. He's on here.
All right, let's see.
Oh, there he goes.
Can you hear me?
Ron, give us an example of the state-to-state intel. So
Alright.
when Mike comes on and I introduce him, he's going to do his own style. But here's one way of handling it, guys.
I just give you what's going on in the state. Nevada denies preliminary injunction for crypto.com. They're just not going to make an injunction against crypto.com. So that's good news.
5 minutes away from
Amazon
handing off,
launches
and then we're
massive
gonna be
hiring drive
No, it's okay.
in Nevada, aiming to fill 2,500 positions ahead of the holiday season. The industry experts address the future of data centers in northern Nevada. This is a big issue, and it's going to be a big issue in a lot of other states, but now it's coming to our state. They're going to want data centers, which require a lot of electricity and a lot of water, and Nevada doesn't have a lot of water to give, so it's going to be interesting to see. The judge here in Nevada dismisses legal malpractice suit against Sigal Shatta, but not Joey Gilbert. Now, I mentioned it last time that Sigal, she was appointed by Trump, and then these courts were charging her and saying she couldn't, that she was illegitimate. Well, now a judge dismisses all the malpractice suits against her. And Joey Gilbert was a favorite to run here, and everybody, a lot of people here believe that the voting was skewed when it came to him losing out on his try to become in the politics. But Nevada DMV spotter program sees surge in expired vehicle reports in the first week. And what this is the DMV in Nevada has put out information saying that if you see people without license plates, report them because it costs everybody a lot of money. So this is like snitching on your neighbor, uh, and they're saying that the spotter program has seen a surge in expired vehicle reports in the first week. High grade Nevada gold strike ignites talk of multi-million ounce potential. So that's what's going on here. Nevada Cannabis Board Chair
Okay, guys, get ready. I'm gonna have to talk.
Adriana
So
Guzman
take your conversations over there in the
Frolic
kitchen.
enters the Attorney General race here in Nevada. How about that? Nevada Energy faces intense scrutiny from Nevada regulators over decades-long overcharging claims. These people in Nevada Energy are always raising their rates against the consumers, and now it's coming out that they've overcharged for years. The BLM to sell 5,500 acres, freeing up land for small towns in Nevada. And I mentioned this before, this is a very slippery slope when you're taking the people's land, which is the BLM, belongs to all the people in America, and now you're selling it. And you know, and I think that's a scary thing and it's wrong. But I'm just one person. But anyhow, recruitment for Nevada National Guard exceeds the federal mandate, so a lot of people are joining up. Nevada progressives urge Republican governor to tank the Democratic movie studio bill. And I'm happy to see this because I think it's nothing but money laundering. They're trying to get studios here and they want to give them huge amounts of tax breaks and incentives and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see what happens with the movie industry coming to Nevada. Nevada governor proposes fuel resiliency committee to tackle supply vulnerabilities. Okay, that's a good thing. Um, Okay. Here's an opinion. Our universities are under siege. Time is running out to fight back. Trump's assault on higher education doesn't just threaten students and researchers, it puts America's global excellence in grave power. Now, that's an opinion piece. And there's a lot of opinions against Trump here in the news. And that's just one of them. Nevada Governor Lombardo backs the push to end universal mail in voting. And that's a wonderful thing. Let's see if it happens. The Trump administration halt massive Nevada solar project, jeopardizing clean energy goals. Yeah, well, I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see it. Nevada senators want an end to the shutdown. They say the GOP leaders aren't negotiating, which is, that's not true. It's the Democrats that are refusing to negotiate. You know, that here we go, Nevada, with these articles. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you, Ron. Very good way to show how this is done. I would probably tweak it a little bit and get the top 5 or 6 things. That way,
5 or 6, we'll do.
that way it's not 5 minutes and it's just a couple minutes. But Ron, you're right on point. Please don't get offended by that. So Mike Engelman, gosh, I'm honored to have you lead Indiana and wear the RAF hat for our team and our Patriot family. Thanks for coming on tonight and being a part of our Patriot family. What updates you have from Indiana and sorry, I don't know what part of the Dinesh D'Souza interview you got to watch, but we were definitely honored to have him come talk to us about the Dragon Prophecy movie that he got released and also our updates from our financial pillar leader as the financial markets look a little bit scary out there. But Mike, thanks for being a part of our team and what's going on in Indiana. Thank you.
What's going on in Indiana? Well,
we just got through an election last year and we voted red again. We have a supermajority Republican legislature with a Republican governor. We've had a Republican governor elected in this state since 2004. So it's 20 years, although this governor is not popular here. He only probably got elected for two reasons, Trump, and he ran against a weak Democrat. He's not a popular guy. He's from the southern part of the state, and he's not charismatic. He doesn't have a lot of support within the legislature, I don't believe, on his overall agenda. So there's been some bickering going on, and there was a new poll that came out by Channel 8 WTHR this week that shows that there's some really, really red flags here. That if we're not careful, we're going to lose our majority and we're going to lose the governorship because these Republicans aren't working together and they're not using common sense, an approach to some of the issues that people are fired up about here. So, it is a very conservative state, but we have a lot of rhinos. We have rhinos in Washington, D.C. that come out of this state, and Todd Young is one of them. He's a United States Senator. I don't have any use for the man. I've met him, talked to him several times when he was in the House of Representatives. He defeated Evan Bayh in 2016 and rode the Trump coattails. That's the only reason why he got elected. And he turns around, stabs Trump in the back just about every opportunity he can get. So he's a POS. He will be primaried in 28. And he's going to be primaried by someone very solid that will defeat him. This has been in the work in progress since last year. So if you're going to unseat an incumbent, you better have a strong candidate, number one, and you better start 2 or 3 years out in front in advance. You're not going to jump in and race an election year and do it. It takes fundraising. It takes creating awareness and people introducing yourself to the entire state. You got to comb this entire state, all 92 counties, and you got to meet the people as the alternative and what you stand for. And a lot is going on here in Indiana with that grassroots movement in local elections, not just the state house. There's cities and communities all over Indiana where people are rising up and they're voting out incumbent do nothing Democrats or rhinos and establishing new city governments. It happened here where I live. I ran for office 2 years ago, and our city was 150 years of Democrat, and we flipped the entire city government to Republican. City council, mayor, clerk, treasurer, board of works, the entire gamut, and we won in a landslide. So the timing was right, and we just decided to run as a group and lay out 3 or 4 things that we was focusing on, and we won, and we're making that change. That's how you have to do it. You can't always fight those battles at the state and national level. The most power is at the local level. Get involved in precinct committeemanship jobs. Go to the party meetings. Start voicing your concerns. Go to your city or county council meetings and listen to what the issues are that's hot button, and start getting involved that way. That's the only way you're going to make change. You got to be informed on the issues and just get involved at the grassroots. Form a coalition of people. Don't try to do it by yourself, and it's very successful. But I'm confident that we do have some leadership at the State House that will right the ship. There's a lot of talent there, but right now the messaging is all over the place, and someone needs to pull this governor aside and some of the leadership in the State House and get on the same page and start putting Indiana forward a little bit, because right now we're going in like 50 different directions. And that's going to create a volatile situation for the party where they're going to be very vulnerable in upcoming elections. So that's my concern, and that's where my focus is, and hopefully keeping this state red, because if we go Democrat, it'll be over, just like all these Democrat states.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for that, Mike, and we're blessed to have you part of the team. Gosh, I'm so excited to have that. Very good way to tell us what's going on in Indiana. Those that are watching the live stream, RedAmericaFirst.com, sign up. We're honored to have more, state panel members. So just, go to the website, sign up. We want to hear from you. Your voices are heard on this platform. We're going to, I'm going to give the keys to Rob, Ohio, and Brandy, and Magaso, Christian, Mike, Amber, Victoria, that help run the state intel round, as I'm going to give them, the keys to do that, and I appreciate their help. So those in the live stream, we're going to shut you guys down for tonight, but please, this Monday, Pastor's Point, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Chapter 6, Revelation. And then next Thursday, we're going to go over our resilience pillar here at Red America First. We're building a network of patriots all over the country that have the will to help in an emergency situation. Maybe they got equipment, maybe they got chainsaws, maybe they just want to help. Because we cannot rely on FEMA, we cannot rely on big government anymore. It's more we the people helping each other out. And you're going to learn that when the next accident comes. So Rob, Ohio, I'm going to give you the keys. How drive state to state. I think Amber was next. Then Magaso, Brandy, Victoria, how calling others. Those that are on the live feed. Again, RedAmericaFirst.com. We'd be blessed to have you part of